Hey everybody, it's a grumpy old guy gaming, hoping to get this one in the can today. Actually been recording this a couple different times, and I know I don't present the most uniform or concise front when I do these videos, but my goodness, rambling for rambling's sake is the best way I could describe the previous two failed attempts. That said, we're back with more Dragon Quest II, and if you're familiar with the series, that means we're doing more tabletop talk. And if you're unfamiliar with the series, that still means we're doing more tabletop talk. Started a couple months back on a new tabletop RPG campaign, and we actually didn't play a session this week. Had a few other things pop up, just some more real life stuff, and didn't really have time for a game. So instead, I'm gonna go through a little bit of what I had done right around April 1st there. The folks at the Arcane Library Discord server have put together what I'm assuming was a joke class, and just the way Shadow Dark seems to work out, like most things designed for it, even in a somewhat tongue-in-cheek fashion, it had some interesting viability that I just felt the need to try out. For those unaware, there are some old school sensibilities to Shadow Dark. One of which is when you're rolling your stats. If you're doing it as intended, you're doing it the pre-99 way. 98, 99 is when 3rd edition came out, and I know the variant existed back to 1st, but as someone who started with Redbox Basic, it really wasn't until 3rd edition for me that I really saw the 4d6 drop the lowest for rolling stats in Dungeons and Dragons take hold. For me, it was 3d6. Not the most generous stat allotments, and you certainly got your clunkers. Typically, back then, what we did was point by, because, negative stats as a kid are never fun. Something you just sort of learn to deal with at an older age, I guess. But this was very much a 3d6 down the line. Holy cow, we got a metal slime. And that usually happens with metal slimes, I will say that. But with 3d6 down the line, you have the chance to roll up characters that are nigh unplayable. In fact, there's a little clause in the core rulebook that says if you don't have a stat at a benchmark of at least 14 or higher, you could just sort of throw those numbers out and re-roll the rest. So April Fool's Day, there's a PDF released for a Roustabout class. That is tongue-in-cheek, the class that is perfect for those stat rolls that would otherwise be deemed unplayable. And it's a class that is lacking as far as armaments and resources, to an intentionally lampoonish point. But it had some amazingly fun abilities. One of its talent rolls was just straight up learn a new weapon. 4 zombies. This is going to be a nice bit of experience when we come out the other side here. So I rolled up a Roustabout and decided to see just how far I could get with it. Because the fun of an adventure game for me is just going on the adventure. Just made up a quick sheet on a legal tab and grabbed the Redbox Basic Player's Guide, one of the foundational tomes for me, if you will. Now, for those unfamiliar with the Redbox, it was probably my personal favorite iteration of basic Dungeons and Dragons. It took the time to really sort of do the proper amount of hand-holding, I guess, is the way I want to say this. There is a guided sort of follow-along story right at the beginning of the book that helps you roll up a basic fighter as you get going. And for those aware of the trope, this is where you get to meet a couple of very, very iconic NPCs in old school D&D, being the wizard bandit Bargle, who ends up becoming the slayer of your first friend, the cleric Elena. Wow, the game is not taking it easy on us today. We're just gonna ignore that metal slime. It's gonna run. Carnivogs could put us to sleep, and the baboons have hit us pretty fierce, so the metal slime's stuck around. I will be amazed. We're just gonna try and reduce the number. Oh no. Yup. That's a problem. Well, that got the baboons out of there. Elith woke up, but will it be for naught? Yep, there goes Elith. At this point, our only hope is to get out of here with Orpheus still alive and just return back. We will do that. So the music switches back. And yeah, we will return back to town with our tail between our legs and just sort of regroup and make another shot. But after the Elena Bargle battle, as it were, you take Elena's body. Spoiler alert for 40-year-old games, but you take Elena's body back to town, and it gives you a little town scene where you're restocking, you upgrade some armor. And then there is a choose-your-own-adventure styled little foray through some goblin caves. And this is an adventure I have run dozens of times throughout my childhood, adolescence. I ran it for my son once. Like, this for me is cut your teeth D&D. Also remember we have that copper sword to sell, so that should at least offset the revival cost. Ah, Stealth Club too. So I decided to run it, and since the roustabout is not really the most gifted of characters, admittedly I got unroustabout-like stats. Like, I had some pretty decent modifiers for this run. But I decided to run the choose-your-own-adventure part of this, just to see how it goes. And I'm not going to cheat and do the meta or anything on it. In fact, there's a riddle section on it, and I found that I've gotten into the habit of just looking up random riddles and not looking at the answers, just to see if I can guess them in that spot in place of the one printed in the book. But I ran it, and I got a bunch of gold back. Didn't really give myself anything in the way of experience for it. Experience in Shadowdark is based on treasure, not monster kills. But the way I've been playing it at the table to sort of encourage downtime activities is to make the bulk of experience gain at lower levels. And I stress at lower levels, this is going to normalize once we get established into the world a bit. But levels 1, 2, and probably 3, the bulk of experience gain is more than likely going to be in my campaign world through carousing, which is a random roll table you get to do during your downtime activities between adventures. And the results of the carousing can be boosted equal to the amount you're investing in it. Basically, party harder, better chance at success. You're going to gain experience no matter what off of a carousing event. It's just a matter of how much and what accessory thing happens. Some of the accessory things are like charging you extra money, or in the event of my Northwest campaign, the previous week's session, they kind of accidentally burnt a house down in their revelry. Just a little. But some of them are really good. Full on giving you chances at magic items and whatnot. So, I decide to literally leave after one encounter because I'm down to 1 hit point, and roll the dice at the tavern. And the carousing roll went really, really well. Got most of the experience to level 2, and I made a bard ally. And then I got a thought. Bard was actually the first Shadow Dark character I ever rolled up. Go figure, Illith fell asleep. Well, we'll at least winnow things. I spoke too soon. I said we'll at least winnow things down, and then Agog and Orfeo got hit with a second sleep. Nice thing is they're popping out of the sleep real quick. Bad thing is they can't hit. Now, as nice as the experience gains are, I think once we get through the monolith here, we'll have to cast Repel. Wow. So bards are an interesting class in Shadow Dark. They're not technically a core class. They were made in a live stream as part of a stretch goal, which tickles me to no end on that. And while they haven't been officially released yet, I have tinkered with the PDF that's out there for them. Just seeing what I could do. And one thing I realized very quickly about the Bard class was it is a master of alternative combat, and really the kind of class you're hoping that somebody else rolls up. Let's go ahead and cast that Repel now. We're going to try and make it up to this next town here. 1 baboon, and we get the drop on it. Happy with that. The carousing roll is normally a D8 roll, plus whatever bonus you get from your investment. Bards, as they're listed now, until official publication, this could always be subject to change, but as they're listed now, give an additional 1d6 to your carousing check. So instantly, the worst result is gone. And you're just left with, the possibility of really capping out, hitting the max result on that carousing table with even a minimal effort. It helps to know the bard, I guess, is the moral of the story. Okay, hit points are getting a little sparse. I believe we've got to put Orfeo on healing duty. Just save up as much of those Infernos as possible. Still able to make it through for the most part with just heal. But now I have a party of 2. I decide to roll up a new bard instead of running the bard I have already. This should be a fairly straightforward tower, if I recall. We'll just keep those repels coming too. I do remember Excalibur mentioning, that is our 3rd metal slime of this upload, unless it's the same one because it keeps running away. In my head, it's going to be the same one, but awesome all the same. Wow. Come on, fingers. I remember Excalibur mentioning the monster drop rate in this game in a comment, and yeah, it's kind of brutal in 2, but sorry, had to clear my throat there. When it comes to games like this, you tend to love them or hate them, warts and all. Like, surprise around here, and we have some options. We really do. I'm going to take a shot here. Get rid of that baboon. And I'm going to waste an Inferno on a single target and hope that Elith does enough damage to take care of that Megapede. Awesome. There goes our poison. Nagog one-shots the baboon. So we got everything we wanted and then some out of that surprise round. And a medical herb. Awesome. But I have my party of 2 now, and I send them back into the adventure, which is already a huge bonus. My roustabout, who's wielding a rapier from the upcoming Unnatural Selection thing. I'm using a lot of third-party material in my Shadowed arc here. It's all stuff that is going to be slowly incorporated into my campaign world through different geographic regions. And by and large, most of the accessory stuff in the way of new classes and weapons and options and whatnot will come out once the group has established their mode of play and their preferences, so that when it comes time to roll a new character, or if they're looking at giving their current party a bit of a rest and maybe starting a new story within the world, those options will be there and they'll have plenty to explore. But I get to take the stuff for a test drive and the solo stuff while I build out the world and get everything ready. And that's a great bonus for me, so I could, wow, we're just going to try running from this. Oh, that's brutal. I was really hoping that since we hadn't run at all in this upload. But yeah, nothing to do now but power through it and hope our hit points stay high enough. I think we have to kind of take the wizardry rule on this. If you're running, you've already lost. Not 100%, but I think that Medusa Ball just attacked us twice. That would be bad news. Got the baboons out of there, so that's a thing. Time to throw out another round of heals. The equipment we got Agog here is kind of the unspoken MVP. I guess I said it out loud, so unspoken's not the correct term. Early Infernos, always a boon But an Infernus that takes out nothing is not so great. Okay, got 2 out of the first round. We did pick up that herb. Okay, top of the tower. We made it. Just going to fall off the top here, and since Illith has the Cloak of the Wind, we make it nice and safe there. Now it should just be a bit further up north here. Now the second adventure goes a bit better than the first. We get a good bit in, collect a nice sum of treasure. I'm going to do something I've been trying not to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Dragon Quest II map here in the background. This is the first time I'm actually looking at this material while recording. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just off to the east here. Magic baboons. Literally a monster I probably haven't run into in a couple decades. I do not remember these things at all. I can only hope that we have enough damage to take them out. Because we know how hard the regular ones hit. Not taking any chances here. Okay, down to 1 and still in pretty good shape. And yeah, just to the east here. See, I was all worried. And not without good reason. I mean, resources are getting scarce here. Getting to that range where you almost want to contemplate casting Return, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. All we gotta do is get through some more magic baboons, take a trip south, and with a little luck, we'll get into that town. I don't think we're going to be so lucky this time. Need Illith to get that Infernus off before she takes a big hit. Well, I guess that was expected. Just going to heal up Agog and Orfeo. Make sure they are in as good a condition as possible and see if we can't just limp this down to town. We made it. Not the easiest run. But we did make it to the next town. 180 pieces, not a problem there. So I get a fair bit of gold through a couple encounters with the roustabout and the bard. And I get back to town and decide to press my luck now that we've gained a bit of experience, uncovered a couple secrets and treasures. Spend 60 gold here at the end, but I do another night of carousing. And I roll an ally in the town guard. Also get the roustabout to level 2, so that was a huge bonus. First person we talk to in town says I have nothing to say. I love this game. Wow. We are welcome in Leonport, just not by that horned helmet guy up there. Let's talk to this guy we passed up on the way to the House of Healing. He's a soldier from Alefgard. For those unfamiliar, Alefgard was the sort of continent you were on for the original Dragon Warrior. So when he says, perhaps you've seen ancient maps of my land, he's referring to the prequel of the game, the first game there, the Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior as it was released here. But much has changed throughout the ages. That's a valid warning. This guy says we never lend boats to strangers, sorry. And that girl there, being assaulted by some demons from the look of it. Evil has come. 2 gremlins. I mean, we must fight, yes? Let's cast us some fireball and just kill it with fire. Fireball and Infernos. 1 gremlin down right quick and in a hurry. Yep, they do have some AoE attack. But we already know this thing's on its last legs. Easy kill from there. We have saved her from the fiends. Now we get to talk to her grandfather, who just told us they don't loan boats at strangers. Good people aided her in her time of need, and the grandfather will gladly give us his swiftest ship. See, that's the way RPG diplomacy works. Tells us to the east is Alefgard. We're also able to dock wherever there's land, so this will actually let us get back to the previous geographic areas as well. Check out the weapon shop real quick, and we've got some other things here. We have a wizard's wand, we have hiding clothes and a steel shield. Yeah, I don't think anything else at the moment. That said, I don't think Illith has had any update on the clothes front since we got her. So yeah, defense power of 45 is going to be a huge advantage. And yeah, let's just sell the old duds for a grand 23 gold, which is not a ton. Anyway, getting back to the previous party, we've got a couple of adventures in. And I got that town guard ally and figured, since the party seems to grow after every adventure, I'd just roll up a soldier, a fighter with the soldier background, and now I have a 3-person party. And I'm contemplating just giving them a 4th person at this point. Went to the wrong place, meant to hit the end one more time. And I'm thinking I'm going to make a plague doctor. The reason why is when I made the roustabout, I made it an herbalist. That may not sound like much to folks. It's literally just roll up to shore, by the way. Use our silver key here. And this NPC tells us that there's a pirate ship called the Relentless that sank in chill waters with a great treasure. So there is a sunken treasure for us to investigate out in the world. But first, if you didn't notice, there's no place to record our deeds in the Imperial Scrolls of Honor there. So it's time to take us a little trip around and find where we can dock this boat. Three Medusa balls. So I have an herbalist, I have a soldier, and I think the bard I made a scholar. And my goal is to turn this party into the real campaign world justification for there being caches of healing potions everywhere. That's an interesting... Okay, that's just around the coast. So we come up against a couple sea slugs here. I'm sort of drifting off looking at the map. My apologies there. Wow. Huge crit on us, and Orfeo is nearly down for the count. Teach me to take my eye off the birdie. But I do tend to leave healing potions. Because in my campaign world, I have 2 parties right now. And not a single priest between them. For whatever reason, even my wife, who is ride or die cleric in 5th edition D&D, she has finally branched out and played a bard, which in 10 years, maybe the first thing in 5e she has rolled up that hasn't been a cleric or a paladin with a healing-centric focus. But we have got to this point where I have 2 parties in the Shadowdark campaign, which is not the highest magic setting. There isn't a ton of healing available in the world, and not a single cleric type between 2 groups. So this party is going to end up being my sort of in-world justification for just stashes of healing potions. Just going around and doing their little good deeds for the day, leaving these little stashes as sort of geocaches and things in the world, wherever they venture. Just distilling potions out of the local flora, and using the bard's scholarly know-how and the plague doctor's sort of mechanical know-how. Get a man of war there. There's one thing I've learned about this game. If it looks like a slime, it's the most dangerous thing in the group. Let's put Orfeo and Agog on the Medusa ball and see if we can't just one round Infernus the Man of Wars, or at least get some chip damage on him. Okay, lucky for us, my guess was way off and their hit points are quite low. Now we got some problems. Sea slugs putting things to sleep. And Ella fell asleep. Now we're in the stun lock. But that is the story of how I started with an April Fool's Day class and wound up with a potential party of 4 and a justification for an in-world occurrence. Just a bit of rambling for me, and a really fun adventure for me while I was playing through it. Typically when I'm doing my solo stuff, it's just rolling some dice and have a little ambient music in the background. Usually either playing on a PDF on the computer, or in the case of this adventure, just a couple books. Just sort of lying down on the floor there. Didn't even feel like sitting at the table. Just get a good stretch and enjoy the day for what it is. Going to heal up. That was a monster encounter. I mean, it was an encounter with monsters, but that was a monster encounter. On the bright side, the geography may not be looking super familiar, but if you've watched, it should soon. I was looking at the old map here. We're actually not far off the town of Leftwing. So I think we're actually going to dock here, just to stay away from the nastier elements of what we're dealing at sea. And yeah, you can see we're back to wild mice. I mean, we're in double-digit levels. Wild mice aren't going to be a huge threat for us. Sure enough, kill one, the other runs. And we're not so much stopping at Leftwing, we're just using it as a guide to get up to Cannock Castle, where we can record this event, put this edition in the bag, and call it a successful adventure. My goal was just to make it to the town, and defeating the gremlins, getting the ship, just a bonus thing. Hopefully more of the campaign this weekend, so I can get y'all the next edition. Also plan on working on a bonus video for this week, though as late as it took me to get this upload in, I guess the hours are ticking away on that too. But it is a fun story of mine on a not tabletop edition that I feel I just kind of want to share with the world. Anyway, that's going to do it for this run. I hope wherever you are, whatever you're doing, things are going well, and that you personally are doing well. This has been a Grumpy Old Guy Gaming, talking to the proudest dad in Dragon Quest II, the king of Cannock Castle. Going to completely ignore the fact that we're the ones who approached him, that we found the Princess of Moonbrook Castle, and after giving us our experience totals, he's going to tell us how great his kid is. But you take care, and we'll see you around.